on this episode. Guys, we have been doing this for 1 full year. So we're going to bring this back around to a full circle. And what that means is my very first guest was a childhood friend, longtime friend, pretty much still my neighbor. So I'm bringing him back, and we are going to talk about bird dogs, and we're going to go back down memory lane, and we're going to run you guys through the summer of 1997 in Pomeroy, Ohio at Plott Days, because Chad actually went with me and experienced that with me. And I know I get a lot of feedback from you coon hunters about we need to do more of this and we need to do more for that. So we're going to talk about coon hunting a little bit, and I'm going to tell you guys how inexperienced I was and how much a dog actually won the hunt and I didn't. So, Chad, glad to have you back.
Thanks, Heath.
And what's going on good in your world? What's up with the bird dogs?
Well, in my neck of the woods down over the hill, there's not much good going on. I got a really nice female pointer that won a fair amount with, and I bred her back this spring and early spring, and was all excited for a bunch of pups, and ended up with one pup.
I think I seen that.
So, yeah, that's part of life, and that's part of breeding dogs. You win some, you lose some. But the pup that I do have, time will tell, but she's fast and fancy as she can be.
How old is she now?
She'll be 7 weeks on Saturday.
7 weeks. So you're about the same age as these out here. Well, if you need pups, and I make fun about it, so Chad or Matthew, his son, they take care of my dogs for me 95% of the time when I'm gone on vacation or I'm out of town. And so we had a fupa. So when I was in Vegas at the SHOT Show, Matthew was feeding for me. And when I come home, I noticed one of my dogs, I had my dogs doubled up. So I'm going to tell you about a gaff that I had. Had my dogs doubled up for the winter. I do that with most of my dogs. And when I got home, I noticed one of the male dogs sniffing on a female that I had in a pen together. So I moved her immediately, took her out. And lo and behold, she was out for 3 weeks. She never did swell up. She didn't bleed. She didn't drip. There was no sign other than the male dog sniffing on her. That's it. So no worries, whatever. Come home one day from work, was feeding, and I'm like, I think she's pregnant. And I watched her for the next couple of days, and sure enough, she's pregnant. So 64 days, I went back and counted from the middle of the week when we were gone to Vegas. I have a litter of puppies that I did not want. So the breeding on it is sketchy at best.
Maybe.
Yep, maybe. Yeah, we're going to talk about that a little bit. But anyway, I told Matthew, I said, you tell your dad that you're going to bring a litter of puppies home. This is your fupa. And he's like, I'm not taking him home. Dad will kill me. And I said, well, I'm just going to take him and drop them off, and you can explain to your dad why you got a litter of puppies at your house. Matthew didn't want any part of that. So Chad comes over today, and he's looking at the pups, and we're talking about, what took place and everything. And, we get to talking about the book Snakefoot because he did a lot of line breeding and inbreeding. And, people have mixed feelings and mixed emotions on that. And, you can read one article and it says, absolutely not, don't do this, don't do that. And then you read another article that says, well, there's not proof for that. So, anyway, they're a little too close. But, after going back and listening to the podcast with Bart Rogers, there's enough genetic diversity because there's nothing in the 7-generation pedigree in these dogs that match. Even though they're close, there's nothing there that matches. And I will tell you, like I said, I was not happy about the situation, but so far I have been overwhelmingly surprised with the actions of these dogs, the smarts of these dogs, the genetic makeup. I'm getting, I can go outside right now and show you they've got really good tight feet on them. It tightened them up a lot. Even though their grandparents had good feet, Their feet have tightened up. Good hanging ear, a little bit longer than normal, which I like. And just their drive. You know, they're 9 weeks old now, and testing them out a little bit like I have, out of the 7 puppies, there's not one that you say, nah, it don't have it. They all come together. They all have about the same amount of desire and their timing. You know, they all kind of give out about the same time. But for 9-week-old pups, you know, and I've been watching this since they was 5 and 6 weeks old. So we're gonna see what they got. The color, I mean, they're beautiful dogs. I mean, beautiful. Like I said, good bone structure, good conformation, good tight feet on them, and we're gonna see. I put some of them in some really good hands of people that's going to take care of them and hunt them, and I guess the jury will be out. But
right, the conformation is a big thing. You know, the mental stability, if it's there, that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. That's a real big deal to me, is the conformation and their mental makeup. You know, it's, if you show a dog or a young dog, if you show it a few things or show it something a few times and it gets it, versus the dog that you show a few times, you think it got it, and then next week you have to repeat and show it the same thing. Mm-hmm. Those dogs are not, I don't enjoy messing with those dogs and don't really want anything to do with them. And yeah, and just to throw back a little bit further, you know, I was fortunate enough to get another pup. I give a shout out to Carl and Chris for hooking me up with Sassy, and just super smart dog. I've said this, and I'm going to jinx myself because I've tried to keep it contained. I don't know that I've liked a pup as much as I like her in a long time, and I'm scared to death something's going to happen. And I've told several people, I said, something's going to happen to her, because she is into everything. She's chasing down rabbits. She's chasing birds. Like, I mean, she's just super smart. And the pups, I mean, they're the same way. Like, they're not chasing rabbits and stuff, but they're smart. They're so intelligent. We've set up a fortress to keep them off the porch. You know, we've built a gate, put it on the porch so they can't get it up and down the steps. Well, then they figured out to jump up on the steps, up onto the trash can, crawl through the fencing, or not the fencing, but the rails, yep, and get on the porch. So we fixed that where they couldn't get through there. Well, then the next, I've got a cross tie laying on the back side of the porch. Well, then they figured out to get up on the cross tie, and then they could pull themselves up on the porch and go through the fencing. So we had to block that all. I mean, and then they learned if they walk around the outside of the deck far enough, they could still get on the porch. Yeah. And I mean, it's like, man, you guys are like wizards. You can't outsmart them. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, super smart. They recover. And when I say that, like, you can spook them or give them something that they're not sure about, and it doesn't take but a second. One or two of them's coming back around, won't know what it is. Their curiosity, you know, they're not. You don't spook them so bad that they're just done. Right. In the next county. Yeah, I really like that. They've got really good mouths on them. I mean, already I can tell that they're going to have super mouths on them. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of positives that I was not happy about, and it's turning into a positive. I see more and more already. Like I said, I can do my short drags. And it doesn't take but a second. But then again, guys, I'm using the method that I learned from Miguel and Lewis as far as putting the odor. I've imprinted them on the odor at the food, and then started laying the track to the food bowl so they have to track the odor. And I've got them up to about, 50, 60 yards. Nothing overwhelming, just and it's a straight line, and I'll put the food out of sight. And I mean, they slam it like it's time to up it, and put a little age on it. So I have implemented that. I think I've talked about that on a podcast that I was going to start doing it. But I've seen really good results, and I've got 4 left here. One of them's going to get picked up Saturday, so I have 3 left. But they're all like, there's none of them that's not participating or doing it. So I'm like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I hate to admit it, but I am.
So that's interesting. What scent are you imprinting them with?
Bear.
Okay.
Bear odor. And if you guys can find me some good bear scent, Grawls is out of business. In fact, I emailed her, and of course, when her husband died, that she don't produce the bear odor anymore. I've tried the stuff from Nightlight and Cabela's, and I'm just not 100% sold on it. But I'm taking it just like Miguel said. I'm putting it in a spray bottle, and I'm spraying the mist. I'm not saturating the area. I'm not putting it down like that. So that's how I've been imprinted it. And again, I use the same method as he did. He uses a bell, and I'm using a whistle. I just whistle, and when I whistle, they know that there's food, and they translated that over to the odor, and we went from there. So if you guys need to, go back and listen to both of the podcasts that we did with Lewis and Miguel and write down some notes, because it was very interesting. And like I said, I started implementing it. These pups are 9 weeks old, and like I said, I've already got them using their nose for 50 and 60 yards. So I'm not a professional at it, because I'm learning their method, but it's showing me results that I'm highly pleased with. So in the confirmation, I know, Chad, when you was on here the last time, we talked about confirmation, and I'm a big proponent of that. I like good running gear. I like good feet. I like that balance.
Right. The gait and the whole 9 yards, all of it ties in together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It just makes it easier on the dog to get through the country. So yeah. So what else? You got your female, and
yeah, haven't really. I've got, I don't know, 6 dogs, but 6 or 7 dogs, but not a whole lot of field trialing going on this spring. Hit a couple, and that was about the extent of it. I guess, last fall I was in Maine for pretty much the majority of October. Mm-hmm. And birds were hit and miss up there. It wasn't bad. It was better than Virginia. But it's been better, and been watching the weather now up there, because it's hatching time, and it's 50 degrees and rain all week long, so that's not good for this coming fall.
Yeah, I know that when Jason Carter was on, he talked about that too.
Yeah.
So that's where he's at, is up in Maine. Well, let's go back and we'll kind of do a real quick recap on your and our relationship. That way, I mean, I know, like I said, people may have missed it or picked this podcast up since then, but Chad and I grew up together in a small town, went to school together, played sports together. We hunted together a lot and everything. I mean, turkey, deer.
What deer? I was thinking about this the other day when I was on the mower.
Don't say it. Don't say it. Statute of limitations may not have run out yet.
No, but we were on top of the mountain, muzzleloading hunting.
Which mountain? East River?
East River, yes.
The lease we had?
Yes.
Okay.
It was on the top. We were on the top, muzzleloading, and only charge I had was what was in the gun, and I shot that buck, and in that big flat up there, and hit him high, and it didn't kill him, but it broke his back, so I tied a rope around his horns and then tied him to a tree and had to come find you.
Yes. He wasn't going nowhere.
It was a good deer.
Oh, you lassoed that thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
it wasn't going anywhere.
No.
It was a good deer. It's one of the best deer I ever killed.
Yeah, I remember that. That little swag right through there was a prime travel corridor. And I wished I would have learned that earlier in life. Like being a kid, we was in high school. Like I didn't get it.
Right.
It was till after I graduated and we was about done with that lease, and we let it go. And then I was like, man, because you remember the little Chinese dude that Dad brought from work?
Yes.
And he missed that monster.
Yes, I remember that. What was that guy's name?
I can't remember. He ended up
good dude.
Yeah, he went back to New York. But so Dad had a I know we're getting down a rabbit hole here, but Dad had a guy that worked with him, and he
was
wanted
an engineer, wasn't he?
Yeah, smart as a tack. He wanted to go deer hunting, so muzzle. And this is like, things have evolved so much since then. But back then, they had the old Thompson Center, the side locks, and you put the cap on. And if they got wet, they just did not go all. I don't know how many deer I missed with that stinking rifle misfiring. So we had give him that rifle. I'd borrowed somebody's, and we'd taken him up to the same place you'd been, and we had been watching a nice 12-pointer, and I mean a nice 12-pointer. Well, I thought I was going to be smart and go out the ridge, and the deer would come up in the next flat. And I put him in that swag, and, I mean, it was early in the morning. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. I heard, pat. And then it went again. I heard, pat. And I'm like, what the world? So, I don't know. I waited about an hour, and I eased back out the mountain to that swag, and he's sitting there, and, I mean, he's like, he's making a rocking chair sign on his head. Like, he's holding his hands up like a field goal. He's like, big deer, big deer, big deer. And I'm like, well, what happened? He goes, the gun didn't go off. So anyway, we hunted till lunchtime, went down to the house. I got some more caps put on the gun. Well, it was double loaded. If it would have went off, it'd have probably knocked him into West Virginia. Like, it would have probably knocked him out. But yeah, he was so like, I don't want to say the word disappointed. I mean, his enthusiasm and excitement, and at the same time, completely crushed. Like, because he missed that deer.
That was funny.
Yeah, so.
Good stuff.
But yeah, Chad and I used to hunt together. Chad was with me when I got into this dog venture. Yeah, years ago. And then, so we coon hunted together. Chad ended up with an old red bone. Is that the only coon dog you had?
Well, I had that black and tan too, but that was only two.
Did that come from AD too?
No, I can't remember where that black and tan came from. The red bone came from AD.
AD, yeah. Old Joe Buck.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how bad it was.
It was bad. It was terrible.
That's back when the camcorder started coming out. And not the small ones, the ones you carried on your shoulder, like a 1400 Panasonic, whatever it was. So Chad and I got the big idea that we were going to start filming our coon hunting adventures. And we were actually up right where Dad lives now. We went up Burton Holler and went out the old road there towards Foltz's.
I remember that.
Yeah. And we were filming that. And I remember your dog started squalling up in the holler, and then I guess I had Brandy. I don't remember. I don't even know what they run. Like, we didn't treat nothing. And, I've said it on this podcast before. I spent so many nights chasing stinking dogs that I can't believe that I actually still do this sport.
That's what got me out of it.
Well, some of us are just more hard-headed than the others. But, so, anyway, I ended up with Brandy, and I know we talked about that before, so I literally, and I got to thinking about it before we recorded this, because I wanted to have my timeline and my facts somewhat straight. So I had bought Brandy in June of 96. I had bought the bear dogs in the end of 94 is when I had them. And then I ended up with Frosty, and then I decided I went to a local coon club. I'll give a shout out to them. Ballard, West Virginia was close to where we were at, so that was our local club. I started going down there and met some guys, and I was like, hey, I'm looking for a dog. And I ended up buying Brandy from Philip Hunt. And Brandy, for you Plott guys listening, Brandy come from Kenny Rourke up in Tazewell, and she was out of his breeding. And I ended up buying Brandy and two pups out of her. They were a year old, and Brandy wasn't 2.
She was young.
Yeah, she wasn't 2. I don't remember exactly the age, but she was not old. And maybe the pups. No, I'm telling you wrong. The pups were 6 months old. Brandy was a year and a half.
So her first heat cycle.
Yes, her first heat. Yeah, and I had two dogs. So I ended up buying 3 for 1. That was a great idea. So that fall, I tried to bear hunt the 1 pup out of her, And then the other pup, he done pretty good coon hunting. And I don't know why I sold him, but I did. So I started pretty much entering the competition. In fact, the very first competition hunt I went to was a Plott sectional in Marlington, West Virginia, Pocahontas County. So I went up there to the Plott sectional, and I hadn't had Brandy 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Went up there, and I absolutely got schooled. I had no clue. I didn't know the rules. Well, I thought I did. Back then, they had the rules on the back of the scorecard, and they were pretty simple. I got schooled, and that schooling took place for about the next 6 or 8 months. Like, I did not win a hunt, did not win a cast. I was traveling, to all the local clubs and hunting pretty much all weekend. And I'm sure you was with me on a lot of those.
A bunch of them, yeah.
And then Mop Thorne and Gene Lambert, Randy Jack, they talked me into going to Plott Days. And guys, I didn't even know what Plott Days was. I had no clue. Like, it didn't mean anything to me. Plott Days. We're going to Plott Days. I was like, all right, what? They explained it to me, said they go up there for the week and they hang out and this and that. And I said, well, sounds like a good time. Let's go. So I conned Chad into going. So we actually go. Mop talks us into going early. And guys, if you guys don't know Mop Thorne, you don't know what you're missing.
He is a hoot.
I'm telling you, like, he'll make you laugh till your sides hurt. I'm telling you, and give you the shirt off your back. But so they talked me into doing that. So they said they were going to go up a couple days early and get the dogs adjusted and whatever. And I had no clue. Like, I'd never been to a big hunt like this. Like, I'd only hunted the local hunts. So Chad and I don't even know how we got off work. I may have quit my job. I don't even know.
I don't even know that I was working. I think I might have been in school. Anyways.
Yeah. So, we go to Pomeroy, Ohio, and we get up there, and of course we're staying in the local hotel. And I don't even know I don't know where everybody stayed because there was only one hotel.
Right.
So we get up there and we meet some of the local guys, and there's this young kid, and I cannot remember his name. I'm sorry. But he's like, hey, y'all want to hunt tonight? And we're like, yeah, we'll go. So we went up and hunted down a river bottom with cornfields. And, everybody used to talk about, man, you go up there and you tree coons and this and that. And I mean, we struggled to tree some coons. In fact, by the time Thursday night rolled around, which was the all Plott hunt, I was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're going to catch a coon or not.
Go to the house.
Yeah, so the all Plott hunt, again, so this is an experience for me because I don't know. I don't know these people at this point in time. I'm a young kid in my early 20s with my first actual coon dog that has never won a cast, that has only got schooled throughout the last year. And I don't even know what the significance of this hunt is. Like, I don't have a clue. So we draw out the first night, and I can't tell you everybody's in the cast, but I know that Gary Cox was hunting old Jack. And that was the all Plott hunt, and I ended up winning my cast that night. I think Jack moved. I can't remember. I think Jack moved on a tree and went back to it and got him minused, and that's the reason I won that night. And then Friday night, I drew Lonnie Brandenburger hunting stinger. And guys, I will tell you, I have never to this day heard a Plott dog as loud as that scoundrel was. He literally sounded like a train horn going off. The biggest mouth on a Plott that I've ever heard. So I drew. I knew I had him, and I'm pretty sure it's Stinger is what he called him. I don't remember who else was in the cast, but I ended up winning the cast that night, and I remember nothing about it. I don't. So, we're up there having a good time. We meet a lot of good people.
There's people from all over the country.
Yeah.
It was good people.
Yeah, it was an experience for me that, like I said, it's been 25 5 years ago, and I still have fond memories of the guys and people that I've met, throughout the years. So on Saturday, we are, we're getting ready to. It's in the evening. We've put our names in, but we haven't drawn out yet. So I was sitting outside the clubhouse, which was a big garage type thing in a fairgrounds. I was sitting on a picnic table, and this guy comes over to me, and he's like, "Hey, you got that little female named Brandy?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You win this whole hunt." And I'm like, "What?" He was like, "You done won you cast 2 nights in a row." He said, "You win tonight." He said, "You're in." So anyway, it was Denny and Scott Long. And they had the dog named Outlaw, which I ended up breeding Brandy to, and had my first litter of puppies. Who, 2 of those pups ended up placing in the world hunt, not the top 10 or 15, but they were the top Plott dogs in the world hunt. And I know that that's not significant, but at the time for what it was for me. But so Denny's telling me that, hey, all you got to do is win your cast, man, and like it dropped on me like a ton of bricks. That. Like, okay, what does this mean? And he was telling me about the Isaiah Kidd Award and how, like, this is the most prestigious hunt for a Plott person and, on down the line. Well, it makes me sick. Like, I start getting so nervous that, like, I could literally throw up. And so, anyway, we draw out that night, and I draw Wayne Steele hunting Star. He was hunting Star 5. And there was another guy in the cast named Rick, and he was hunting a big walker dog. And we go to Rick's places, and we pull up into this farm area, and we pull up on top of this ridge, and we shoot the dogs down a logging road down the top of this ridge. So we get out of the truck, and we cut the dogs loose, and the dogs literally opened their mouth, and I said, "Strike Brandy, tree Brandy." And Wayne Steele turns around, looks at me, and he goes, "Son, I don't think I've ever heard somebody tree a dog so fast." I had no clue. Denny Long had me so worked up that it was a utterance. It was a spontaneous utterance. And, if you're in law, in law enforcement, that don't go nowhere. But I shouted that out, and then everybody else starts treeing their dogs. And I'm like, okay, so we literally not run, but we go down this logging road. They're in the middle of the logging road. There is a coon hanging from a grapevine, literally hanging. And the dogs were jumping up trying to grab it. As soon as we get our hands on the dogs, the coon bails and's gone. And I don't remember what happened after that, but I ended up winning that cast that night. And we come back, and I end up winning the hunt. Had the high-scoring female of the hunt, the high-scoring dog, got the Isaiah Kidd Award. And, really, reality has not set in on me yet because I'm still, like, green as grass. I've never won a cast, and I just won 3 in a row. Like, right. The Lord is looking down on me. Like, he's being good to me. So I never won a cast. I win the hunt, and on the way home, like, me and Chad's talking, and it dawns on me, like, Brandy saved my butt. Like, I was so nervous that the first thing out of my mouth was strike and tree my dog. And I would have never done that in a million years, ever. And if we would have been further away from that coon, if we'd had to walk, 15, 20 minutes, we'd have never seen that coon.
Right.
So that was my first experience winning a cast. That is my first experience winning a hunt. And, I mean, I still have the trophies. I still have the pictures. That's where the next morning, Chad and I were loading up the truck.
A big old trophy. Where are we going to put this thing?
I don't know. I know. It was like, there was 3 of them. And, right. Like, we had to think, we look like the Clampets going down 77 back through West Virginia into Virginia. There was hardware hanging out of that truck everywhere. But anyway, that come out of the motel room that morning. We're loading the truck up, and that's where I run into Steve Fielder. And that's where I met Steve. And Chad actually took the picture with me, Steve, and Homan, because Steve had Wrangler and he was the opposite sex winner. And, of course, that started our relationship 25 years ago. So it has just built off of that. The experience has never been duplicated. I went back to Plott Days many, many years after that and just never had the luck, never, play. I mean, I may have won a couple times. I know the next year, and I don't know if you went with me or not.
I don't think so. I don't think I went back.
The next year I got the high scoring dog of the year and handler of the year because I continued to push her and hunt her. And she was a super, super nice little dog.
I was going to say she was a bang-up coon dog, that's for sure.
Yeah.
She was good.
Even though she was a Plott, Michaelis. She'd grab you a coon, but her specialty was a layup. That's what won most of my cast, is she'd go in there and just fall treed. And the other dogs, over 50% of the time, the other dogs wouldn't even make a peep. And you go in there and she'd have a coon laying on the limb. And but anyway, so what's your recollection of that? What do you remember about that great, great, great experience?
The trophy thing, putting them in the truck, that was, I'll never forget that. That was like, where are we going to put this thing?
What did we do with
5 foot tall.
Did we bungee him in the back? What did we do?
But we were scared to death they were going to get broke.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I had that.
And Mop was there, and Mop and Gene were there.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Heath and his little coon dog, and won the whole freaking thing. It was just crazy.
The Journey on Houndsman XP has teamed up with One TDC. This dual-action support for oral health and mobility in our dogs. This unique supplement is so effective that it is recommended by top veterinarian experts worldwide to maintain and improve our dog's health in 4 different areas. Their oral health, hips, joints, and muscles, skin, coat, energy, and recovery. Guys, I've been using this product for the last 6 months, and it has been a game changer for me. If you're looking for something to help with the overall health of your dog, go to worksowell.com and give this product a try. It is highly recommended by Houndsman XP here on The Journey.
Hey, folks, I hope you're enjoying The Journey on the Houndsman XP Podcast Network with Heath Hyatt. He's always putting together a lot of good information for us. This is Chris Powell with the Houndsman XP Podcast, and I want to give you some good information right now. I want to talk to you about onX. onX Maps. I integrate onX with my Garmin system. I travel all over the United States, hunt everywhere, and if I was to buy a mapping card for every place I hunt, it would be very costly. You can go to onxmaps.com and get a subscription for their elite package for $99, and you will have maps anywhere in the United States that you are hunting. Super easy. All you got to do is look at your Garmin, see where you're at. The onX app on your phone will also show you where you're at. You can do all your orientation right there side by side. Go to onxmaps.com. And at checkout, enter the promo code HXP20 and you will get 20% off of your subscription. It's that easy, folks. Check out onX at onxmaps.com. You can find their link on our website at houndsmanxp.com. Know where you stand with onX.
It really it set some relationships back for a little bit.
Yeah,
I will say.
Yeah. You think these guys are your buddies? Wait till you start winning.
Yeah, but it's all good now. But yeah, it hurt some feelings, and I was just lucky. Like the Brandy saved my that last cast. I'm telling you, she saved my butt. Like they just went in there and fell treed, and I don't even know that I heard her come treed. I just blurted out. But you weren't on that cast with me.
I was not, no.
But you went on the other two.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was a good time. Did we go to any more?
It was hot. God, I do remember it was hot.
It was always hot. Plott Days were always in the middle of July. So
Southern
all the kids
Ohio,
could come.
It was miserable.
Oh, yeah. It's a wonder we didn't get it up with snakes.
I don't remember ticks being an issue though.
No, but the deer population wasn't as like it is now.
True statement.
I mean, it wasn't that way.
True statement. But yeah, no, that was a good time. It was fun.
Yeah, like I said, those trophies still stand. They're in my man cave with a couple pictures. But yeah, that and I did the same thing. I went up to me and Earl McKinney, Scotty Woods, went up to Blue Tick Days up in Asheville, Ohio. And I don't know. I was supposed to meet Marlo Arp up there for Steve for some. Maybe they had bred Roper to. They had that show, the World Show Dog, Annie Oakley, I think it was the name. And I don't know what, I had to exchange dogs or something there. But anyway, so I went up with them. Same thing. I took Belle, which is my little blue female, my Cameron female, and was planned on hunting her. And I don't know why I took Brandy with me, but I did. I think Earl maybe talked me into it. But anyway, Belle come in heat. So I ended up having to hunt the Grand Night Champion cast, which I didn't want to do, and ended up winning my cast both nights up there. And me and Scotty had the same problem. I had a bunch of big trophies trying to hang out of that truck. Yeah, we did the same thing. Or maybe I put them in. I know I had them in mine. But yeah, that
was another good dog too.
Belle. Yeah. I mean, I've talked about her on here several times. I mean, just an all-around good hound. Handled like better than your kids.
Yep.
Could trail. Could run. You know, she didn't have the top end speed that I like now, but she's caught plenty of game. But if she come across the track, she's going to take it.
Yep.
I mean,
yep. So you mentioned top end speed. Talk to me about that. What do you like? Why you say top end speed? Putting the heat on it?
I like a dog that runs to catch. I know that's kind of a blanket statement, but I want them to catch game quick.
Right.
And I feel like the quicker you catch it, well, I don't know that I'm explaining. I like a dog that can put pressure on an animal fast. I don't want to have to run the bear 8 hours.
Right.
So I want something. And my Cameron dogs, they caught just as many bear as my Walker dogs. They just did it an hour and a half later, if that makes sense.
Right.
Belle and Clyde caught plenty of bear by themselves. But where Ring was catching them, Sam, Smokey was catching them in an hour and a half, they'd run them 3 hours.
Right.
And I really didn't realize the difference in that. And Belle and Clyde both ran with their heads up. They didn't drag their noses like some dogs do. They just didn't have that catch speed, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yeah, I'd give anything to have two more just like her. Like, man, just a pleasure to hunt, a pleasure to be around, pleasure at the house, easy going. Yeah, I mean I miss that dog.
So you hunt with a bunch of other guys. Do you see the emphasis put on foot speed? And do other hunters put the emphasis on the foot speed?
My guys?
Or just in general, just across the board, do you see that emphasis or?
Yeah, I think the guys that I hunt with, they see the importance of it.
Right.
Now, do all of our dogs operate that direct in that? No, they don't. I've got dogs that's faster than others.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I know that it's important to them. You know, you want a couple dogs that can get up there and
right
and
put
and
the
run,
heat on
yeah, and put it on them. So, yeah, I think it is important for the group that I hunt with. Now, does everybody see the same? No. And I mean, packs are packs. You've got weaknesses in every one, and you're trying to fill holes.
Right.
Some of our better trail dogs don't run with their head up, but they trail a lot better than our running dogs.
Right.
So yeah. So what? Tell me something about some of your fondest memories. What are some of the things that you remember the most? And I mean, I know it's been 20 years ago, but
Oh my gosh. Probably the looking back on things, the Porter and that F-250
oh yeah,
from West Virginia, full of hounds
yeah,
and just dumping them. I mean, what a disaster that was at times.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that was. We spend the rest of the day catching dogs, and bear. We didn't have bear like there is now, and you got a little bit of snow on in December, and it was all over the place trying to find a bear track, and I mean I remember running people down to come bring their hounds and put on a bear track, and
yeah.
that. Were you with me? I think you might have been with me the time that Jimmy Hurst from over in Dublin was up, and we found a track up at Spiders and
Yeah.
ran him down. And
Yeah.
I don't know that
Yeah, because the two dogs that I had
right.
wouldn't run a warm biscuit unless a dog was doing it with them. You know, and I talked about that before. Like, yeah, I had two dogs, but one of them ended up getting run over. But yeah, I mean, it was a Me Too dog. Whatever your dog did, he did, but he wouldn't do it by himself.
Yeah,
And
times were tough then. It was a
Yeah.
lot different than it is now. I haven't been on a bear hunt around here in a while, but I see plenty of bear.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's a learning experience, and I'm a lot more knowledgeable now. But I mean, back when I had Frosty, and you hunted with Frosty.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Frosty catch bear.
Oh.
I hunted a whole December, and never had a bear race. You know, I don't think people understand now how hard things were and how much effort and time it took just to catch a bear, much less catch 2 or 3 a day, sometimes like we do, or,
Right.
I had a good week. I caught a bear every day this week. It was not that.
No, it was tough. It was tough, and I know with the bird dogs, it takes birds to make a bird dog, and I assume it takes bear to make a bear dog.
Yeah.
And your odds now are substantially better than they were back in the day. There's no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't remember what podcast this was on, but catching my first bear by myself was a feat, and it was not easy, and it took a couple years. Now I could go with somebody else and be successful, but that's not what I wanted for me. I wanted to be able to take me and my 4 dogs, and guys, for a long time, that's what I hunted. I had Frosty, Sam, Smokey, and Bale. And then, of course, Clyde was 2 years younger than Bale. Then he come along. But I mainly had about 4 dogs that I hunted, and I wanted to be able to do it by myself. And
Didn't you have a brother to Frosty?
No. No, there was only 4 pups in that litter. It was AR. Lance had AR. And then Billy Patton had the brother and the male and the female, the brother and sister to him.
Maybe it was you bred that dog. Maybe it was you bred him a fair amount. Didn't you?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, inexperience. I bred him to Brandy, my good Plott female, and had a litter of pups and had 2 nice pups out of her. Them 2 that was big ball mouse, and I had one that I called Hoss. And I was out of town working, and he got loose at the house and got down in the road and got hit and dislocated his hip. Well, Dad just took him back up and put him in the pen and didn't take him to the vet. Well, the time I got home, that week, by the weekend, the vet said that I can set it, but it's not gonna make it. So not gonna make it any better. So we kept him. I tried, and that just didn't work out. But yeah, bear were hard to come by, and I mean, you catch 5 bear a year.
Oh, you were doing something.
You better pat yourself on the back.
Right.
And I hope everybody, one of the things that if I could really get people to understand is how important conservation is. That it is. I know the game department and the hunters have 2 different opinions. The DWR wants to start decreasing the population because of the complaints. And I absolutely get that. But at the same time, the hunters, especially on National Forest, those complaints aren't coming from National Forest. And, we get back to a time where you're catching 4 or 5 bear a year, it's going to be a problem. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tie into that too. The National Forest, I think the National Forest is in a bad spot as far as habitat management right now. I don't think they're doing enough. People can form their own opinions, but clear cutting is ugly initially, but it's great habitat. It's fantastic habitat for everything for many years to come. And I don't think there's enough clear cutting on the National Forest. And I understand why. It's a political mess. But yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you can look at deer. You ride through National Forest. How many deer do you see? Big pretty woods. There's no deer to amount to anything there.
It's tough. They're not. Yeah, it's different than being on the farmlands. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, conservation is it's important to me in our group. And even though we have faux sometimes,
Sure.
it's not something that we want. We want to preserve what we have because, like I said, times are good right now.
Yeah.
Times are good, and when I can take my dogs out 5 days a week and catch 3 or 4 bear, I'm happy.
Absolutely.
I mean,
yeah.
you can't do any. Yes, you can do better than that. You can catch 2 bear a day, 5 days a week. Yeah, I get it, but I'm saying, for the average person, that's a good week.
Yeah, definitely.
So
That's night and day difference than 20 years ago.
yeah.
So
Did you hunt with me when I was hunting any of the other Plott dogs? Or was it just Brandy and then...
I was thinking that I hunted with. Didn't you had a male? Did you have a male that you got from the guys up in West Virginia, up in Pocahontas County?
Eugene Walker and them?
Didn't you have a male from them?
No. Everything I hunted come off Brandy. I bred Brandy to Outlaw and kept a dog named Heidi. And greed got the better of me on that. I sold her, and I should never sold her. Probably one of the best young dogs I've owned in the coon dog side. And then I bred her to Roper, and I had a dog named Candy.
I remember the Candy dog too.
Yeah, super, super nice little female.
Yeah.
And same thing. Here's a mistake that I made, guys, and not knowing what I know now. So I kept the dogs up above my dad's barn lot, and Dad had barn cats. He had 2 cats, 2 gray bobtail cats, and when the puppies were loose, they'd run down there and they'd run up the ladder at the loft, and the cats would sit up there, and the dogs would go up there and tree on them. And Candy, being one of those dogs, the very first thing that she ever treed at night by herself was a bobcat. And she was 10 months old, which is phenomenal on itself. And I could never get her off bobcats. And I got to the point where I was using the e-collar more than I should have because I thought I knew what she was doing, and I didn't. And one night she took off across the field, full moon, and I lit her up. And anyway, Brandy ended up taking a coon across that field and treating it on the other side, and I had shocked Candy off of it because she opened first, and that was being inexperienced. I didn't know, and I was letting them tree the barn cats, which now would not be a problem. I would fix that in about 2 seconds. And I ended up selling her down in Georgia, and she made a super nice little female. So, the mistakes that I've made by inexperience and not knowing what to do or how to do it. And I've let some good dogs go, man. Like, I really let some good dogs slip because I got aggravated with them or not knowing what to do to fix the problem. And you just apply you apply pressure, and that really doesn't fix the issue most of the time if you don't understand the behavior that they're giving you. So,
yeah. Yeah, absolutely, Heath. I've wrecked some dogs with the e-collar. Mm-hmm. I mean, straight up, I've wrecked them.
Yep.
And lessons learned, and you learn from your mistakes, and you don't make the same mistake again. But yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So I mean, that was me. And you learn back then. I really didn't have anybody teaching me that part of it. I was learning. Pappy come in the scene, and I have to give him credit. The reason I won Plott Days is because he took me under his wing and taught me how to call my dog and told me what okay, when this is happening, this is what she's doing. Expect this next. Give me really good guidance, and I was able to win 2 casts, and then Brandy saved me on the 3rd cast because it was nothing but sheer luck. So, but I didn't have anybody really teaching me that type of stuff. And it was trial and error, which was a lot of error. Don't do that again. Okay, we'll try this. Don't do that again. We call it on the job, OJT here, on job training at work. You keep doing something over and over and over. You just do it different each time until something works. And I did a lot of that. Sometimes I was a lot too hard-handed on dogs. And I learned real quick that I could only have one type of dog that could take that, instead of taking the little bit softer dog and molding that dog into what I wanted to by making him confident and doing it. So, it's a whole learning process for me. Like I said, we circle around for this podcast for a year, but if you circle back to the beginning for me, and I'm still learning today. I embrace it. I'm like a sponge. Like, I want to know all the information that because it may help me later on. Dogs are not cookie cutters.
No.
You just can't stamp out.
Right.
Even you're talking about your breeding. You can't, even though we breed 2 dogs and we expect these behaviors, the chances are you're going to get some type of mix in there that is not what you expected, or you're going to find something that's come 10 generations back. Well, where did this come from?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so dogs are not cookie cutters. Each dog's individually different. That's one of the things that I've picked up from my canine, my law enforcement side, that I've learned that I have got to have a really big tool belt to work all the dogs that I see, because each dog has got a quirk or a habit or a style that you've got to understand how to get the most out of him, what it takes to get the most out of him. And
right. I'm with you. And you talk to a bunch of people, and the problem that I'm having today is the same problem that you had last month, and it all ties together. Just talking to different people there's a whole lot of similarities in the dog world in general.
It is. Dog training is dog training. And I've said that before. If you understand behaviors, drives, you can take a coon dog, you can take a bear dog, a cat dog, a squirrel dog, a bird dog. Right. I mean, we can take any kind of dog as long as we understand behaviors and drives and what makes that dog tick.
Correct.
And sometimes I don't think that people want to understand or want to learn that part of it, because that does take a little time and effort. But that's what makes an average dog a super dog, is knowing those things.
Right. And how many people, how many perfect dogs have you ever seen?
None.
Exactly.
I thought I've owned them a couple times.
Right. And I know people that think these things are robots, and they're push button robots, and they're animals, and they're animals. They're going to mess up. They're going to make mistakes, just as you and I do. So
they have a mind of their own.
They do.
I'll give you a quick example. Maddie had a horse show last weekend. I mean, you're into horses. You and I rode horses together, too.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, we used to go up and camp and
Yep, we did.
Slept on the air mattress in the top of your gooseneck.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
I've upgraded a little bit. I just got a real mattress and not an air mattress.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to sleep in that with you, though. I'll take the cot.
I do have an air conditioner.
But you get prime example. Last weekend, Maddie had a horse show. Horse has been looking fantastic at the barn during her lessons. She's picking up some things that he was weak on last year. Cantering in the reverse gate has been a problem. He was always breaking canter. So she had him clicking. So last week we go to the horse show. The weather, and everybody that fools with animals know weather affects things. If the wind was blowing, it was overcast. Just some things that was just kind of quirky. The wind was blowing. There was a piece of tin on the announcer's booth. It was pop, 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 which shouldn't make a big difference, right? The horse looked like a fool. She did good on the reverse canter. That was probably her best reverse canter that she'd had. But all the other times, she had a hard time getting him into the canter. She had a hard time setting him up. He was wanting to get in the rail. She was trying to keep him off. Just stuff that normally...
Is it saddlebred?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So she gets out of her ride. We're putting the horse up, and she looks at me, and I can just see the defeat in her. I can see the tears almost coming. And I'm like, honey, it's okay. It's an animal.
Right.
It's you're going to have good days and bad days, and you've got to learn to accept the bad days, and that makes the better days so much better. And dogs are the same way. Murphy's Law. You say they won't and they will, and you say
absolutely.
they will and they won't.
I'll make a liar out of you right now.
And one thing that I've learned with my canine guys is we ain't making excuses. The dog did this because he's a dog.
Right.
Yes, I spend time with him. I put in hours and hours and hours of training. I expect my dog to perform at this level, but today he did not.
Right.
And I think it's in any arena that has animals involved.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
But
we're gonna wrap this up, but I'm gonna tell you guys a quick story. We just kind of freelancing this today, but I was gonna do a reel, a short video on this last week, and I didn't. I kind of got caught up, and it was kind of over before I did it, and I was like, but I wanted to talk about this because I've actually had a text message and a phone call about environments and how the elements affect trailing. So a couple weeks ago, I was in North Carolina, and of course, it's a little more, the temperature's a little hotter there, and the humidity is definitely a little bit better. And I know that Jeff Shetler and I talked about humidity, and we kind of both agreed on some things, and then, I'm unsure. Like I can't put a good educated opinion with it because I get so many variables with humidity. So just putting that out there. So we were in North Carolina. We had treated a bear early that morning, and we decided that we were just going to take the pups. And when I say the pups, the year-old dogs, BB and I decided we're just going to take the pups, and we're going to go check this other spot. Well, we know for a fact that the bear was there like at I think it was 5:40, and we were there. Right, but it was before 8 o'clock, so it was about 15 to 8, so 2 hours. So we take our young dogs out, and we walk down this path where we know that he'd been through there, and we get nothing, nada. Dogs act like they just out for a stroll.
right.
So I immediately get on my phone and I pull up the weather conditions. So the humidity was 96%, and the weather was 73 degrees. So it was getting warm. The sun had not hit completely overhead yet, which, we know the UV rays evaporate the odor. But it was 72, 73 degrees, humidity 96%. And our dogs acted like there was no track there. And why I tell you this is most people would have absolutely come unglued if they knew a bear was standing there 2 hours ago and their dogs couldn't take the track. Now, am I happy about the situation? Nope. I want my dogs to be able to do that. And I expect my dogs to do that. But I also understand how weather and elements play into effect. So like I said, when I realized the dogs were not giving me behavioral changes and they was not going to take the track, I immediately got on my phone, and I wanted to know what the weather conditions are. And I actually went back and wrote them in a little note in my truck. This and this and this. So anyway, a friend of mine had texted me, I don't know, a couple days ago, and basically he was asking me pretty much the same question about humidity, what happened, and he told me that they had seen a bear within a 2-hour time span crossing the driveway. They went back, put the dogs on it, and the dogs run around, act like fools. Couldn't do nothing with it. And I know there's some people out there saying, you know, my dog better take that track. But if the dog can't smell it and can't figure that footprint out, then there's nothing they can do about it.
So let me ask you, what about a more experienced dog?
Well, as much as I would like to have done that, me and BB had that conversation. Like, we feel like they would have probably worked. They would have made a bigger circle and hunted a little bit further. And the rest of the week, we were tapping on those hour to hour and a half old tracks, and the old dogs were struggling. Huh. But they got them up.
Right.
They got them up and got them moving. And we treat bear. But it was not, hooray to rail, I'm out of here. Like, it did not happen. So I just, kind of food for thought about stuff like that. Don't get discouraged. Don't get down. Try to be more understanding. Yes, we all want dogs that can take 20-year-old tracks no matter what climate they're in and everything. Absolutely. I want a dog that takes a track as it comes, and what I mean is, if that track come through here at 12 o'clock last night, I want him to take it. If that track come through here at 6 o'clock this morning, I want him to take it. But reality is that I know that I don't have that. I don't right now. I do not have that. Did you hunt with Ring much?
Yes, not a lot, but some.
Mm-hmm. And Ring was one of my better track dogs, and he would take an old track and run it, and people would pack dogs, and they'd come back, and a lot of people thought he was running junk, and he'd come up, he'd come out with a bear on the other end, but he was one of the dogs that could do that. And I like I said, Bell was another dog that could flat trail. Clyde, which was the blue male, had better nose than any dog I've ever owned. He could get down and grub an old track up, and he caught a lot of bear in their bed because he could trail so well. But anyway, I just kind of threw that out there that, that was some of the elements. I wanted to do something and put it out there for everybody to see so they could see it. But that happened, and it is. And like I said, I've had a couple people since I've been back ask me the same thing. And I actually done a man track. What's today? So Saturday. Saturday we had a guy, felony warrants, took off running out of his house. And anyway, I put Pino. We ended up setting up a really good perimeter, got him cornered in, had him coming up a creek, and I don't know what the temperature was Saturday. It was warm. I mean, warm, and I was drenched. But we caught him coming up the creek. I went down over the bank. Me and one of the Blacksburg guys went down over the creek to try to cut him off. He did have a knife, so I couldn't turn my dog loose. And we ended up tracking him for about 500 yards, and we were pushing him so hard, we pushed him right into the perimeter unit, and they were able to take him down. But why I tell you that story is the humidity, I know it was above 80%. I just don't know where it was at because I didn't have my canine program on at the time because it happened so fast. But on the way back to my car, my dog was literally falling over. Like Pino was getting weak in the rear end, and he was sitting down, and he was falling. So I got him down in the creek, let him cool off. I did not let him drink a bunch of water. I give him a little bit, but I didn't let him gorge himself. I let him sit in the creek for a few minutes, cool his feet and stuff off. Put him in the car. I started home with him. He started falling over, and I'm like, crap, I've caused this dog to have a heat stroke. And got him home and got some Gatorade, got some electrolytes in him. I did not feed him until 4 hours later. But just to tell you that humidity works on a dog.
Definitely. Just like it does you and I. I mean, it's...
Yeah. I mean, you and I are able to sweat. Dog can't.
Correct.
Pants. But yeah, so humidity works on a dog in multiple ways, and it messes with your track more than you think. But anyway, just to kind of throw some things out there. What do you think about the weather for the bird stuff? Because I don't know much about, like, you're doing more air scenting.
I'm doing more air scenting and not tracking. And we talked about it earlier as far as the dog with his nose on the ground versus the dog with his head up. The dog needs to be wide open and driving the Ferrari on the dirt road with his head up, not tracking. So, but yes, weather definitely plays. I mean, these dogs that I'm messing with, they're very, very athletic. I ask them for an hour as hard as they can go, and that's fast, and about 15 miles an hour, 14, 15 miles an hour.
For an hour.
For an hour, and then put them up, and they're done for the day. And so the putting your nose on the ground just doesn't work.
Yeah. So, yeah, for you guys. And is that to get to the bird faster and get on the point?
Yeah. I mean, it's speed, and you're looking for an extreme athlete that is fast, is fancy, and points birds. And the more ground they cover, the better those chances are. Now, I'm gonna tell you, they going that fast and hard, they sometimes will run over a bird, but.
When you say run over, does that mean flushing or just missing?
Flushing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that comes with time and age.
Yeah.
Figure that out. So,
yeah. And I think, just what you're saying, going back, you're saying with age, if we'd have put the older dogs down, maybe we should have. Maybe next time I will, just to see if there's it's an age, inexperience difference.
Right. That would be my question.
Yeah. And we ended up going and helping Doug. Doug had called and he needed some help, so we literally just grabbed him up and went on. We didn't spend no time, but next time I think just for knowledge, just to do it.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, I mean BB's midnight dog, man, she worked 2 tracks out, 2 hard tracks out. Took her a while to do both of them, but she worked them things out and got them jumped.
Right.
So yeah, that's. Yeah, we do that next time. Just to see.
Yep, just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Well, Chad, I really appreciate you coming back over and.
Thanks for having me.
Well, not that I don't see you all the time, but sitting down and talking about some good times. Like, I forgot about you tying that deer up. Like, that cracks me up.
I was thinking about that the other day when I was mowing. I just started laughing.
Yeah, boy, we rodeo. And you got a bunch of country guys coming after you. That's what I told that guy when he run the other day. He popped up underneath the guardrail and they stuck a shotgun in his face, and he's like, "Boy, y'all are good." And they looked at him and said, "Yeah, when you run for a bunch of country boys, you ain't getting away."
Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yeah, that's for sure. He had a pair of 4-wheel drive Crocs on too, man. You ought to see the territory he went through. Them Crocs are a lot better than I give him credit for. But Chad, I appreciate it. Like I said, you were my first record a year ago, so we're back at that time, and I just want to thank everybody for listening, taking the time to tune in and join us on our journey, because, this is still a journey for me. I'm still learning. It's still a process. Every day's different. Every dog's different. And I'm trying to gain as much knowledge as I can. And, one thing about me, if you haven't figured it out, is I like to share what I know, because, me keeping all that knowledge to myself is not helping anybody else. And not that I have it, but I've been blessed with so many people around me that have got 10 times more knowledge than me. You look back over the year, the people that we've interviewed. We'll start with, Bart Rogers with Auburn University, and, Dr. Nathan Hall with Texas Tech, and Cameron Ford with Ford K9, and Jeff Shetler with Georgia K9, and Jerry Bradshaw. And, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, these guys are premier trainers in their field. Like, they are sought after from people all over the country and internationally. And because I've been lucky enough to make a relationship with them, makes me stronger because of their knowledge, not because of my knowledge, because what I'm learning from them and taking from them. And, these guys have been so good to me. I mean, I can text them or drop an email or a phone call to them and ask them questions, and they mentor me whether they know it or not. And I want to share all that information with you guys. So for the people that's been a part of this podcast and listened to it, I can't thank you enough for being with us and listening to us and continuing to follow us. So this podcast is just a shout out for all of you guys for listening. So thank you for helping me teach, train, and learn.